Hey everybody, your sometimes humble dungeon master, Falcor Dragon here, getting ready for this Sunday's, at least as of October 14th, next adventure with the whole gang here doing our Curse of Strahd campaign. Since this week's adventure got suddenly catapulted into higher gear as they forced Strahd's hand, I thought I'd do a quick recap of what you've missed so far, so you can jump in with at least a working knowledge of the story so far. First, a very brief summary of who we have with us on this journey. On the right, I put up a screen cap of the crew, so we'll quickly go down the list. At the top, you'll see Damos, our inexperienced tiefling hexblade warlock, who, though he's 27, has only fleeting memories of his life outside a mystical, ever-changing and expanding library. His only companion, or father figure, a book imp that sent him daily searching through the stacks. After finding, deep within the stacks of the library, a floating, beautiful sword that spoke directly into his mind, offering him all the information he had been searching for, but only if he would pledge a portion of his soul to the blade. He agreed, and then, with the deluge of information flooding through him, he realized so much of what he had believed was a lie. This wasn't their library to be exploring. It was an extraplanar labyrinth of information. He heard a name whispered, Ayun, and he realized that they were in fact invaders, scavengers, servants of a being he had read many stories about, Vecna. The realization nearly broke him, and using the newfound knowledge that the sword Erica had given him, he found the secret pathways of the labyrinth made known to him, and ran, fleeing to a secret exit he suddenly knew he could find. Hesitating only briefly, cursing his cowardice and inability to bring himself to go back for Erica, and mourning the fact that he had left the sword behind, he fled. But as he did, he found himself lost in the mists that seemed to arrive from everywhere. We cut down now to Maddox. He's a high elf child from a noble family. He's much older than the other companions, even taking into account the age differences between most elves and the shorter-lived races. Even the other Fae in the group is almost 1/6 his age. However, it wasn't until much later in his life that he took up adventuring. He had been content living the noble life under his family name in Neverwinter. Then he found himself catapulted into the more violent world of adventuring life when his mother fell victim to a team of vampire assassins sent by a rival trade family to threaten his father. After that, he became fixated on revenge, and rather than see him run off and get himself killed, his father told him of what he had done before settling down with Maddox's mother, teaching him the skills of a ranger and setting him on a path of learning to fight the undead. After 2.5 decades of training, he finally left his father's tutelage and headed off into the forest to really begin his journey. But instead of focusing on where he was going, he found his mind playing the death of his mother over and over again, and instead of the woods he had explored before, he found the forest growing darker, more twisted, mists surrounding him. And after traveling through it, he had a vision of an ancient woman, telling him that he would meet a group and that he must lead them to find her. Cutting now to Kedrazel. He's a half-orc barbarian whose mother was captured during a raid on her village and died during childbirth. Raised among the tribe, he struggled to fit in and compete with his larger brothers from the other families. Never knowing his mother and never being told the identity of his father, he struggled to find a place among the tribe. The chieftain took him under his wing, teaching him in his own way, his own harsh way, not to let his guard down, and to never turn his back on a potential enemy. As he grew, he was faced with his first deadly challenge when a raiding party of humans came to drive out the monsters, as they put it. Kay picked up his newly sharpened axe and headed out. Seeing some of the group headed toward the chieftain's tent, he found himself shaking as he walked toward them, but he realized it wasn't fear, but rage. The leader of the raiding party saw him, and due to his smaller stature and trembling, assumed he was a child. He said, "Leave that one. We'll clear up the stragglers after we cut off the head," and headed back to go into the chieftain's tent, turning their backs on Kedrazel, their first and last mistake. Kay's first blow was a deadly one, removing one of the raiders' heads and sending the others sprawling. Shouting out in surprise, he had slain his second when the chieftain, awakened by the noise, burst from the tent, easily finishing off the remaining raiders. Hailed as a hero by the clan, but struggling with the knowledge that he now felt like a murderer. Once the rage had passed, he latched onto the offered guidance of some of the clan's ancestral spirits. The tribe finally lay down to rest, thinking that the battle was over, when suddenly the raiders' leader, a human wizard riding a monstrously large dragon, attacked. Kay emerged from his tent amidst the blood and screams of his slaughtered clan, but before he could try to fight, he found himself swept up in the mists. And then there's Clara, the young, for an Eldarin, 50 years, Twilight Cleric. Unsure of why she was found abandoned shortly after birth, she was found on the steps of the Church of Larue. She was taken in by the elders, where she was brought up in the faith. She sought to become one of the order, and once old enough, was accepted, devout in her duty to the faith, and showing an almost supernatural affinity for the unicorns they protected. And then the day came that changed everything. The servants of Malar, the Beast Lord, a warring faith singly focused on wiping out every faith not their own. She was there when they invaded and watched as they burned everything she and the others held dear, watched her people executed, and so she watched as they fought back. She watched as they decided to burn everything they deemed as heretical, some of the sacred texts which were kept by the elders. She then did the only thing she could. She grabbed the original text her faith was founded on, carrying it with her as she made her escape. She fled, running to the forest line behind the church, watching as it fades into the mist, running further than the forest should be, into more of the accursed mist. Her only goal now is to make it back, make things right for her people, and return the last copy of the sacred text to keep her faith alive. And finally, there's Wilhelm. A bear of a man, a human barbarian, he was working as a guard and a farmer, spending his life with his wife Arlea and his 4 children, born into the clan Redworm. He lived a mostly peaceful life, but shortly before his daughter was to be wed, his clan was invaded by Clan Dortith, seemingly to take his clan's superior lands. He fell unconscious after taking an arrow to the neck, and when he awoke, he found himself bandaged, but alone, with no clue as to who had saved him. When he returned home, he found the remains of his family and the rest of his clan, and lost himself to the rage. It took him nearly 5 years, but in that time he eliminated all the warriors of Clan Dortith, picking them off one after another. But still, the rage wasn't sated. He turned on the rest of the clan, till not a single member was left. Finding himself covered in blood, kneeling amidst the last of the clan, he looked around himself, blinking through the red haze that this time came from the blood in his eyes and not his rage, and he felt nothing, no satisfaction, no peace. Eventually he turned to adventuring, trying to help those in need and to find a use for his life and his rage. He formed a small adventuring group, the Traveling Tales, only accepting food, drink, and tales as payment. Sometime after the group had retired, he found himself saving a village. After celebrating the victory through the night, he asked a traveling group, Vistana, though he didn't know that at the time, for a ride to somewhere new, so he could now explore the lands. And as he slept along the ride, the Vistani, who had sensed the darkness still nestled deep into his soul, rode on, not to his intended destination, but to theirs. And previously, on Curse of Strahd, the companions, after arriving in this strange land, had a strange dream of a dark, malevolent death house. The chanting echoes dismally in this place. At the far end of the hall stands a painted statue carved in the likeness of a gaunt man dressed in a black cloak. In his right hand, the statue holds a smoky gray crystal orb.
I must send out my hand to go snatch it from this distance.
You reach out your mage hand, and you grasp the smoky orb, lifting it up, and a foul wind sweeps through the place. One by one,
Oh.
shadows amass into thin figures, each hissing, shrieking, and demanding, "Return the orb! Be gone from this place!"
Return it, return it, return it.
I'm gonna put the orb back down.
And I'd like everyone to roll initiative.
But I put it back!
Followed by another sort of stranger fugue dream, seeing glimpses of each other's past. After meeting up with the high elf Maddox, they arrived at the village of Barovia, where they met the newly appointed burgomaster, Ismark the Lesser, whose father had just died. He hired them on to help him transport his sister to the town of Valaki, where he thought the church's protection there would help keep her safe. They purchased some enchanted dream pies that not only gave them very restful dreams, but also seemed to give them glimpses into the land's past. They met, for the first time, Strahd von Zarevich, the lord of this land, who, well, for all intents and purposes, appeared to be an honorable, noble lord, had a strange, unhealthy interest in Irina, even calling her by the wrong name, Tatiana. He tried to get her to leave with him, but quick thinking from Wilhelm and some very lucky hands of poker earned them a reprieve and even a favor from Strahd in the future.
Welcome to my land. I am Strahd von Zarevich. This is my realm. I try to make an open invitation to all new visitors. Please consider yourself invited to my home for dinner.
Do you like to play cards?
I have been known to play a card or two.
Then how about this? How about we have a bit of fun, real quick, play a hand of cards. If I win, you leave us be for a bit because we kind of have to talk to Irina here for a moment. You win, I'm not going to step in if you try to walk off with her.
I did not know you stepping in was a possibility. That is intriguing. However, I am never one to pass up a sporting chance. What game is it you prefer?
I think back where we used to live, we called it poker.
He looks at his hand, frowns, and he lays down a 7 and a 2. He has nothing. Very well. We shall meet again for dinner.
They then helped to bury Ismark's father, and in an attempt to slay the vampire that had been locked in the basement of the church, you look up and clinging to the ceiling like a spider is this boy.
It does look like a vampire Peter Parker.
He lashes forward, biting into your neck. They nearly died.
One of these days, you guys are going to get me killed.
One of these days, I'm going to get myself killed.
One of these days, I'll become immortal.
And the vampire escaped into the mists. They then met the inscrutable Madame Eva, who told their fortune and raised more questions than answers.
Maddox, you've brought them. How nice of you, my boy. Clara, so young, so sweet, so innocent. Oh, Catrezil, so full of fire and wanting to prove yourself. And Amos, the young boy, always trying so hard to prove himself to a master as cold as steel. And Wilhelm. Oh, my heart breaks looking at you. All you have been through. I feel it too. But now you are here with me. And that means it is time. As I've seen, I am here to help you all, on a journey you do not even know you are on yet. Except maybe for you, Maddox. Now, I will do a reading for you, yes?
She lays down the first card.
This card tells of history, knowledge of ancient, will help you better understand your enemy.
And she flips over the transmuter.
Go to a place of dizzying heights, where the stone itself is alive. The second card tells of a powerful force for good and protection, a holy symbol.
She flips over
The charlatan, a lonely mill on a precipice.
the third card.
It tells of a weapon of vengeance, a sword of sunlight.
And she flips over the healer.
Look to the west. Find a pool blessed by the light of the white sun. This next card sheds light on one who will help you greatly in the battle against darkness. The mists of Istana wanders this land alone, searching for her mentor. She does not stay in one place long. Seek her out at St. Markovia's Abbey, near the mists. Then she flips over. There will come a time when you seek him specifically. This card will lead you to him. The seer. He waits for you in a place of wisdom, warmth, and despair. Great secrets are there. When they arrived at Vallaki, they found themselves with almost too many leads of things to pursue. But arriving at the church, they found its mystical protections nullified because of the theft of the bones of Saint Androval that had been kept hidden beneath the church's floorboards. And the priest leans down to the boy and says, "Well, this is important, Yeska. Did you tell anyone else about the bones? Who? Who did you tell?" He's like, "Who stole the bones?" Investigating the theft led them to a small orphanage where they found and defeated a demon, a shadow demon that was possessing a small young child, causing him to kill his parents and one of the other orphans.
Do any of you guys have any questions you want to ask before we interrogate a child?
The light coming from the attic's far window seems to dim of its own accord, suppressed by an unnatural, invisible force. Putrid smoke begins to exude from Felix's skin, wafting from his body, an impenetrable shadow. And as the boy's body slumps forward to the ground, the shadow begins to take form, arms stretching out from the central mass in solid black claws, and a demonic face grins, bearing rows of razor-sharp teeth.
What's wrong with demons?
Once they defeated the demon, the young boy was freed, and one of the other orphans, who had been hired by the coffin maker to steal the bones, told them everything he knew, leading them to the coffin maker.
"You're closed! Go away!"
And with some trickery and intimidation, they managed to get him to open the door and tell them where the bones were hidden. But in the process of retrieving them, they heard some loud screams outside in the town. And just as you reach the front door, you hear screams, and you hear the sound of a horse riding by, but not strange, because it almost sounds like it's coming from above you. You open the doors, and he takes one step out, looks up, and you see riding in the sky above you a horse with hooves burst into flame, and a flaming mane and flaming eyes, and a man riding astride it, barreling towards the church where you left your companion and Ismark and Irina.
I really want that horse, guys. I don't know how to tell you this, but I might need that horse. That horse looks amazing.
It's a fine horse. Let's get going.
You hear the screams from the townsfolk saying, "The burgomaster, he lied! The devil is here!" There you have it. That's where we left off with Curse of Strahd. Are the adventurers going to be able to make it through the town to get to the church before Strahd? They left Cadrazel at the church with Ismark and Irina. Is he going to be able to hold them off Strahd if they don't get there in time? What will happen on the next adventure of Curse of Strahd? I guess we'll have to find out.